Hello everybody, how's it going? My name is McDude. Welcome back to another Blitzkrieg 2 map editor tutorial video. So today, I'm going to be covering a couple different topics for you guys. They're both correlated to each other, but they both work differently. I'm only going to go over the basics of these because these can eventually get a little complicated. So some of the things that will be featured in the video, I will likely be covering in a future video myself. So the topics that we're going to discuss today are unit start commands and scripting. Unit start commands are little commands that you can assign to your units that will execute at the very start of the match, right as you load into it. You can have as many start commands on a specific unit as possible. So you could have 2, 3, 10 commands, doesn't matter. And scripting, on the other hand, it's kind of the backbone of your mission. It allows you to go ahead and create your objectives, make certain little statements to see if something has been doing this, or if this object is here, etc. For now, what we're going to do is just use it for doing some basic unit movement. And also some swarming to point. But I should probably mention first, before we get too far, remember the local files for Blitzkrieg 2? Yeah, I recommend that you have your editor manual open, because when we cover scripting, some of the things that are here are going to be a little bit complicated to talk about. So personally, I recommend that you have the editor's manual open whenever possible. So I'm just going to set mine off to the side. Without further ado, let's go ahead and make our new map. So I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and click on the new button so I can make my new map. You can of course set your map folder up and your players up however you would like. And I'm just going to name my folder Unit Tutorial. Just something basic for now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly start off by doing a couple of things. I'm going to spawn in an M3 Grant for myself. You can spawn in whatever unit you would like. I'm just going to be using a tank in particular because it's one of the most basic things that you can use when it comes to start commands. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, besides setting up my starting camera, which I'm only just going to set the position for now, you'll notice as well under the gameplay tab, there is this little sub-tab called Unit Start Commands. Click on this. Now you should see a little blank sheet or just a plain white window. There should not be anything here except the type and the target. So this is where we can start working on choosing what kind of start commands we want to have our unit execute. So I'm going to have my grant do 4 different things. I am going to make it swarm to this corner of the map. Then I will have it come back here to this starting corner here. I will have it rotate to this corner of the map. And then I will have it entrench itself. So let's go ahead and make this happen. So to make a unit commit a start command, select your unit, click on the Add button, and you should see this new window pop up here. Type, target, and parameter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select under the type drop-down bar here. I'm going to go ahead, scroll down, and I am going to go ahead and choose Swarm to Point. Swarming to point means that it will go to the designated location and will attack anything along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this corner of the minimap real quick, and then I will drop down a little marker right here that my grant will swarm to. You should see a yellow line and a dark red marker here appear on the screen. You can drag the marker around if you would like by holding the left mouse button down. So this is the location that my grant is going to swarm to. So once I have the location set up, I'm just going to click OK. And you should see this swarm to point appear. So that is going to be the very first start command that will be executed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select our grant again, and I am going to add another start command to it, and I'm going to have it move to point. And the point is just going to be let's go a little ahead of where the tank is actually facing. And I'll click OK. Now sometimes with the editor it can be a little finicky, and I'll show you how it can be. When it comes to viewing your start commands, you'll be able to see the kinds of start commands that are being pulled off by seeing the yellow line and the dark red marker on the map. Sometimes things can get a little stuck, which means that selecting your unit may not be possible, so you may have to just quickly switch tabs to something else, and then right back to the beginning. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and make my grant rotate to this corner of the map. So I'll select my grant again, click the Add button, my little window, and then I'm going to select the Rotate to Point starting command. Now because he'll be here, based on the previous starting command, I'm just going to click just around over here, just so he'll rotate in this specific direction. And I'll click OK. And I will select my grant one more time, add a start function again, or a start command, and then I will have it entrench itself. And click OK. Of course, if you wanted to, you could have selected a different area on the map, but because rotate to point and entrench self are mostly not focused on having the unit go to the specific area of the map, some things are mostly focused on going in the direction of the designated marker's location on the map, or sometimes it may not require it at all. Okay, in the meantime, because I chose that I would like my grant to swarm to the point in the corner of our map, I'm going to spawn in a couple of units. So I'm going to change the player to player 1. I am going to go ahead and choose a Soviet vehicle, and I will use a T-60 as one of the vehicles. And then just a little further down, I'm going to go ahead and spawn in a T-70. Okay, I'll just set my player back to 0 real quick. And I will currently press the save button. So we have our 4 starting commands, and we have our 2 units that will be in the way that my Grant will be attacking in order to reach the designated point in the corner. Now let's open up Blitzkrieg 2. Alright, let's open it up in the Custom Mission tab. So if we have done everything correctly, what we should see is our Grant swarming to the point, and it should be able to attack the T-60 and T-70. Then it will come back to the area that was just kind of close to where I first spawned him. He will rotate to a designated area on the map, and then he should entrench himself. Let's take a look and see what happens. Okay, so he's got the 2 swords, so that means he's swarming to the point. Well, that didn't work out for that T-60 very well. What about the T-70? Well, that's too bad. Alright, so our Grant should be approaching the point. Alright, now he is turning around, and he is starting to move back to where he originally came from. Of course, you can use whatever unit you want, but just be wary that some of the commands that are shown under the unit start commands may not function correctly because it may not be supported for the unit. Okay, so I'm going to quickly select my Grant. So, sure enough, he is rotating, and now he is entrenching. All perfect. So if at any case that you have a unit start command tried to run, you are able to cancel it by selecting the unit and then changing things up by having it do something else. I will show you what I mean as an example. So I'll just hit escape, end game, restart mission, okay. So I'll just quickly go ahead and after the T-60 dies from the unit start command, I'm just going to go ahead and make my M3 go in ambush mode. So let's watch him fight the T-60. And ambush. Now it will just do its ambushing. And done. And as you can see, it has decided to stop all of the available start commands that was given to it. Perfect. So that concludes the first part. Let's look at the next part, shall we? And the next part is the scripting. So let's go to this corner of the map here and have fun scripting here. So I'm just going to set my starting position for my camera again. So I will just set it here. And let's spawn in a couple of units for both sides. So I'm going to go to the British. I'm going to spawn in an SPG, just some kind of tank destroyer. The Archer, why not? That's a relatively decent choice. And I'll spawn in another kind of British tank. So let's do... let's go with the Sherman Firefly. Okay. Now, I'm going to actually go to the other side and spawn in the enemy units real quick. So I'm just going to set the player to 1 here. I'm going to go to the USSR SPGs. I'm going to use the SU-76. And I will go ahead and let's go ahead and use the T-34 1941 model. Okay, so I've got my 2 different units on each team. So I'm going to make our script function a little differently from our start command. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make both of our units and the enemy's units meet in the center of the map. Now, assuming that the British will win, what I will have the units do next is after they swarm to the point, I'm going to have them meet up with the Grant here. Okay, so in order to do this, we are going to need the help of a script area. So in order to find this, go under the script tab, and it should be open by default, the script areas subtab. Now, in order to make a script area, go ahead and just click on the map, and you should see a red circle appear. Move your mouse around, and you should see a red line appear and a circle just sitting around the tip of your cursor. When you've made your script area, left-click again, and you'll be prompted to make an area name. You can make the name whatever you would like. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it Meetup. So I'm going to have both of my units meet in the middle of the map. What you can do is if you want to adjust the script area a little bit, you can select it. Hold the left mouse button on the center circle to drag it around to change the location. And then the circle that's sitting on the edge ring here, this yellow ring, you can drag your mouse further away or closer to the middle circle to adjust the size. And then once you're done modifying the script area, just press enter. Okay, if at any time you are making a script area, so I'll click and I will move my mouse, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I can just right click twice, and then everything should be okay. I won't be making another area. So we have our meetup area where an engagement will break out between the Archer and the Firefly versus an Su-76M and a T-34. But like I said, I wanted our units, after the fight is over between these two, to meet up with our Grant. So I'm going to go ahead and make another script area. I'm sure you've also noticed on the side here that you can make two different kinds of script areas. You can make a circular area, or you can make a rectangular area. For this second zone, let's make a rectangular area. So I'll just click on rectangle, I'll click on the map, and I'll just select the size for now. Now, the way that you make the rectangular script areas is a little different compared to the circular areas, of course. So I'm going to make my script area. I'm going to give it the name of, let's go ahead and I'm just going to call this one Grant, just for fun. And with my rectangular script area, you can do the same thing for when it comes to moving it. You can also change the size of both the width and the length by holding your left mouse button on the circle down that's sitting on the vertice of the square, and you can move it around and adjust the way that the shape of your rectangle looks. You cannot rotate these particular kinds of script areas. I'll just move this a little bit further away. So once you're done with that area, just go ahead, press enter. Okay. So how do we make our two sets of units meet up in the circle? Well, in order to do that, we need to assign something called a script ID. So what we will do is I would like to start off by giving my British units, before I accidentally make a script area again, I would like to give them a script ID. So I'm going to go to my Objects tab. I'm going to select both of my units, and I'm going to go to their properties. And the value that I'm focused on is script ID as seen here. By default, you would see this value set as -1. -1 is the value that makes a unit unaffected from a script. So any value like this and lower will prevent it from being used in the script. Any values that are something like 0 and higher, it will usually let the unit with that particular script ID do something based on what the script is asking it to do. To make things a little simple, I'm going to start off with the script ID of 1 for my British vehicles. All right, and then I'm going to go and select my Soviet vehicles here, go to their properties, and I will set their script ID to 0. Hit enter. Okay, so in order to actually put our script IDs to use, let's go to our missions properties. Now over on the missions properties GUI here, scroll until you find this property right here, script file ref. This will be the missions script that it will be following. To make a script, just go ahead and click on the value area here, click on new, and then put in whatever kind of file name you would like for your script. In my case, I'm just going to go ahead and put script, just something basic. And once you've done that, you should see this right here. So, how do we make our units do certain things? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a function. So I'll start off by typing function. And as you can see at the bottom, it will show you the warnings that pop up just in case if the program does identify an error in the code. So the function, what it does is that it will look for a specific name, first of all, that you'll give it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call my first one meetup. Now, it does say that you require parentheses. And I'm going to quickly just press enter a couple times and press end. If at any time you would like to zoom in and out of the script's text, you can just hold left control and then scroll with your mouse wheel. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to do the following. We are going to use a QCmd as seen earlier in our editor manual. So the QCmd, as you can see here, has different kinds of little properties that it can use. So like it's got this act move, attack unit, attack object, etc. So what I would like to do is I would like to have my two units go ahead and swarm to my little meetup point that I have made on the map. So I'm going to be using my swarm to point command here. So the command is act_swarm. The script ID, which is the script ID of the units that we would like to use act_swarm. DISP is what's the dispersion. The dispersion is the value that's given for how far away at most something will be from the very middle of the given location, which is where X and Y come into play. Now, you do not need to give a specific X and Y coordinate. You can just use the given script areas that I have made earlier as an example. So let's move this off to the side. So I am going to start off by doing, let's press tab to make an indent. Let's do QCmd parentheses act_swarm. And I will start off by doing that with my script ID 0, so my Soviets. My dispersion, I'll just set it as 0, so it will try to get as close to the middle as possible without being too far away. It will still try to meet in that area. And then to specify the area in particular, seems like we forgot about it. I'm going to quickly press OK. If it asks you if you would like to save changes to your script, press yes. Now, in order to see your script areas, just click the script tab again and go back to your script file reference here and click edit. I'm going to zoom in again. So my script area name is called Meetup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put comma. Now you can either use quotations, which I would strongly recommend using, or you can use apostrophes. It honestly depends on how you write the name of your area. So most of the time, I just like to use quotations. And put the exact name of your script area name. In my case, it's Meetup with a capital M, no spaces. You can put spaces in your script areas if you would like. You would just have to make sure that you do match what you have to do after it's changed, meaning that you'll have to go back to your command, find the script area, the name of the old one, and then change it to the name of the new one. And then I'm going to put in my ending parentheses here. So it should be command left bracket act_swarm 0 for script ID 0, 0 for dispersion 0, however possible, and then my script area called Meetup. Like I said, you could use X and Y, but I find that script areas are more effective and easier to use, because that way they know the given location off the bat, which means you have one less thing to worry about. You just need to know the name of the name. You just need to know the name of the script area. Okay, and then I'm going to make another command. So let's do QCmd. Now I'm going to do something a little different. Remember how over in the editor's manual here, we have this act swarm? Well, there's also this right here. act_swarm equals 3. So you can either use act_swarm, or you could just use the number 3. So I'm going to go ahead this time and I'm going to put down the number 3. And then comma script ID of 1, dispersion of 0, and I will have the units also go to Meetup. And closing bracket. Now, what is important here is that if you would like a unit to do multiple commands, a set of units with a given script ID to do multiple commands, you need to actually follow it up using QCmd, which is also known as QCmd, which means it is a command that will be executed once the first command for it is complete. So currently how this script is working is that it's going to commit this action and this action at the same time. So what I'm going to do is that because I would eventually like my tanks, my British tanks, to meet up with the grant, I'm going to press enter and I'm going to put QCmd. QCmd is basically the same thing as QCmd, except it will just be a command that gets executed after the preceding command before it. So this is the preceding command here, and this will be the command that will be executed. And the parameters for QCmd work the same way as CMD. You don't need to add like any particular order. It's just the kind of command that you want to use. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the QCmd to where I would like my tanks to just meet up with the ground, just casually move there. And according to the editor, I can either use act_move equals 0, or basically act_move, but it also equals 0. So I can use either act_move or 0. Kind of a voice crack there, excuse me. So I'm going to do act_move, ScriptID of 1. I'm going to give this a very small dispersion value. I'll say like 20. And then the script area I'm going to have it go to is grant, which is over on the top left. Now, if you look here, the program has not detected any particular errors in my function, so I can safely click OK. Now I'm going to save my script again. However, there is one thing that we mustn't forget about. Let's go back to my script file reference real quick. I'm going to zoom in. Now, in order to make our units do these commands, we need to call an extra function outside called StartThread. That means what it will do is that it will call the function that's given here. And it will make the function, of course, get called. And I will do just that. So let's go ahead and put StartThread. And sometimes the program will try to find the possibilities to see what command you could be looking for, as long as you're kind of typing that kind of command. So it will try to match the command based on what you're typing as best as possible. So I'm just going to use StartThread and press enter. And I'm going to put brackets here. And I'm going to use meetup, which is the same name right here. Now, if we had anything in here, we would actually also add a comma, and then we would put whatever value here we would like. But because we did not add anything here, we're not going to worry about adding a comma here. So this should be what the function should look like for right now, for having the two different units meet in the middle over at meetup. Well, they will swarm, and then eventually the British units will go and meet the grant later, once they finish executing their command here. If at any point as well, before I forget, you want to make sure that you know what certain parts of a script do, you can go ahead and press --, which will create a comment. So comments can be used in order for you to just understand what this part of a script is doing. So For example, this will make two sets of tanks meet up in the middle, and then the British tanks will meet with the Grant. I'm just going to zoom out and scroll all the way to the left. So yeah, it does look a little bit hard to kind of read when it's zoomed all the way out. So of course you can zoom in, like I said. Sometimes if you really are trying to have a situation where you want to zoom in but still be able to read the comment, you can just go ahead, press enter, and then put another dash dash. So that way you can still read part of the comment if you're zoomed in. Okay. And I will also say as well, the same thing will apply when it comes to CMD and QCmd. If you do anything with your units in particular, while a CMD or QCmd is being executed, then it will cancel it. So I'm going to go ahead, click OK, say yes to save. I'm going to save our map, and let's open up Blitzkrieg 2 to check out the map, see if it actually works. Okay, so custom mission. So even though I left my Grant setup there, I'm just going to let the fun go there, but I'm going to show you that I know the ScriptID stuff is going to be working fine. So the two sets of tanks meet in the middle, they'll fight, and then the British tanks should meet up with the Grant later when they emerge victorious. Let's take a look. So they're swarming to the point. So that's just based on up there. Oh, here are the Soviets. Okay. So looks like the Firefly has made it to the point. So now he's going to meet the Grant. Oh, and the Archer has also completed his command. So now they are both going to meet the Grant over at the designated area that I gave it. So I'll just speed this up a little bit with the number pad plus. So as you can see, we have met our Grant back over here at the start. And our Firefly and Archer seem to be unharmed, which is good. Okay, so now let's restart, and I will show you what happens if I decide to do something else. We'll do it with the Firefly for this example. You will ambush. So that's up there again. Alright, so our Firefly is ambushed. Here's our Archer. Not doing so well. Ouch. Now, because I didn't give the Soviets any type of QCmds, that means they're done doing what they need to actually do. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Sherman Firefly to go and deal with those Soviets that destroyed our Archer. Now this is roughly the script area in which I wanted the unit to meet up, but because I canceled the command partway through, that means the unit will not do anything else because I have selected it. So now I'll just have my Firefly go there manually. Speed it up. And that's it. So that is everything that I wanted to teach today based on unit start commands and some basic scripting. So next tutorial, I'll be covering some more of the complex-ish types of scripting commands that you can use. I'll probably even get into certain things such as expressions in if statements. Don't let that get too worrisome for you until I end up making that video. But for now, these are just some of the basics that I wanted to show you for what a unit start command can do and how scripting work. So thank you very much for watching this video. If the guide helped you, give it a thumbs up. If the guide was very unhelpful, give it a thumbs down. I would also like to quickly thank Chronological Gamer for making episode 4 of the Blitzkrieg 2 editor tutorial video, which covers AI generals. I will put the video over just where the missions property stuff is, and I will also show off his channel link so you can check out the different kinds of videos that he has made. Without further ado, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.